Welcome to the Women Inspire Aspire podcast. In this episode, I talk to Trupti Mulajkar about social development. Thank you for accepting my invite to appear in the podcast. How are you doing today?
We're very excited actually. Looking forward to speaking to you. After I said yes, I did go through a couple of the podcasts. Found them very, very interesting. And this is a first of an experience for me. So looking forward to how this goes.
Okay, that's great. So, could you go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself, your background, where do you live, etc.?
Yeah, sure. I'm born and brought up in Bombay. I'm the youngest of three children. My father was a doctor in JJ Hospital in Bombay. So I was very much a South Bombay kid, born in the hospital and grew up on campus as such. Um, Although the last couple of years I haven't really been here, I was in Pune for a bit and just came back to Bombay with a new job last year.
Okay, what do you do in your job?
So I've done a couple of things. I'm a computer science graduate by academia, never really worked in programming or the IT industry, so to say. My first job was as a market researcher with the Nielsen company. Did a couple of different sorts of gigs before getting fully into social and development sector. I'm currently working with IIT Bombay.
Okay, so can you tell us a bit about what the social development sector is about and what is your role and what are your responsibilities in it?
Sure. So my tryst with social and development sector started with Teach for India. It's an NGO that works specifically in the education sector, trying to bridge the inequity or the education inequity. I My tryst with them started when in 2019 when I got accepted into the Teach for India fellowship. So I taught in a government school in Pune to fifth graders for 2 years, one of the year being during COVID. And post that, I worked as a fundraiser with Teach for India. So largely, when I say social and development sector, it pretty much means with NGOs, those that are working for societal issues. My experience so far has been very limited in terms of what or in comparison with what other people are doing. But I've worked extensively in the education sector in the last 4 to 5 years.
Okay, so in the education sector, what exactly do you do in your work?
Well, right now my work is more or less related to fundraising. I work at IIT Bombay as a corporate fundraiser, managing partnerships and doing fundraising for the institute. Before that, I was working with Teach for India in similar capacity, where I was doing fundraising for Teach for India's programs.
Okay, great. It's wonderful to know about your fundraising experience because I have been a fundraiser also once. Um,
Okay.
so I was an online fundraiser. So when you
Okay.
say fundraising, is it through the online platforms or do you raise offline? How does it work?
Not through online. What I primarily do is work in with CSR, that's corporate social responsibility. If you're aware, in India, we're mandated by law. Companies need to be pledging 2% of their profits as part of their corporate social responsibility to causes that are aligned, with issues that the company believes in. And most of the large corporates then sort of sign up for projects or for initiatives that they would like to support. Education being one of the biggest, so to say, problems in India for a very long time, and COVID having really brought that situation out very glaringly to the world. um, Most of the corporates are giving money to sectors like healthcare, to education, to capacity building. Right now climate change is a big buzzword where a lot of companies are pledging their CSR money to. So yeah, my work primarily is within the CSR domain then.
What role is IIT Mumbai playing in this?
So IIT Mumbai is, or all of the Government of India higher institutes that are there, they're eligible to receive CSR funding as mandated by law for research and development. That's for betterment of society as well as for, driving technology and innovation and things like that. IIT is also eligible for getting CSR funding. That's how I do fundraising for them. So largely driving corporate partnerships for needs of the institute, that can be, enhancing research and development. There's a lot of student support which is required, new facilities for students, new kind of infrastructure that can be built to accommodate more students, those sort of things that can be funded with CSR.
When you say funding to the projects, does it go to underprivileged section of the students or how does it work?
That goes to all of the institute, not necessarily underprivileged only. There is, of course, a part of underprivileged because there are definitely those who are marginalized and who are, below poverty line students who come to the institute also. The government already supports them through scholarships. If there is anything else that is required or any other gap that can be fulfilled through corporate scholarships also, we extend those to students as well.
So, can you share some interesting experiences that you have come across in the past 5 or 6 years in this work? That is a highlight you want to share with the audience.
I think the whole pivot from my corporate life to working with an NGO like Teach for India, which was working again with children who came from, lower income communities, that was a life altering experience, I must say. Although I was very well aware of what the scenario of education in India was, but really getting my hands down and dirty, working within the system, especially within a school system that is, not very well nurtured, that still has, right from equipment to, well equipped classrooms, to lighting in the classroom, to students not having, benches to sit on. um, just seeing all of that visually, experiencing all of that firsthand was a very grounding experience, so to say. And working with the children, though, because no matter where they come from, children are the most, innocent amongst us all. And the 2 years that I worked with these kids, I'm still in touch with quite a bit of them. So it's very true that um, if you, kind of try to really bond with them, those bonds last for life. I'm looking at these children now who were fifth graders when I started teaching them. Today they are in 10th standard and doing so flourishingly well. It's an experience that I think I will carry with me throughout. Just through the whole teaching experience, I think I got to know the kids, I got to know their parents. I got a better understanding of, despite all the extremities that their parents have to deal with, all the hardships that they go through, the little things that they do to, keep happy, to keep themselves very grounded. I think that was a very heartwarming experience. What I do carry with me is and very close to my heart is, in Teach for India, when we entered the classroom, you suddenly became a Didi. So even today, the children do address me as Trupti Didi, and I think that's what I'll be for them throughout my life. So that whole Didi persona of me is something which I have gained, and that is something which has stayed with me. I realize the privilege that I have, um, by getting a good schooling, by coming from, a well educated background, and what sort of a difference that makes to your life is something which I experienced firsthand while working with these kids. So that's definitely a truly remarkable experience that I had.
Great. So I was talking to somebody from Teach for India yesterday. in
Mm-hmm.
another podcast, and there was something pretty interesting that they had mentioned, which is venturing into the rural areas, trying to generate leadership in the rural areas. There is a separate project for that. Any thought about contributing to the rural areas, or what is your feeling about moving to a rural area?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm very much associated with TFIX in capacity as an advisor because I do have a background from fundraising. And sometimes most of these founders and entrepreneurs who are there, if they need any guidance with regards to fundraising, if there's any um, idea creation or any thoughting that they need to do about how they want to maybe devise a fundraising strategy, or if they need any help getting connected, I do associate with a few of them. In my personal capacity, because my father's background has very much been rural. He was a first generation learner himself who came from a rural background and made his way to one of the top notch posts in a government system, in a hospital. So we are very much associated with our roots. I still have family that lives in our village, and I try to support them as much as possible. For most of these initiatives, which are looking at upscaling and making the education system better in remote areas, I try to support them as much as possible. There are a lot of people who I'm connected to through the Teach for India ecosystem who are doing some work in rural and marginalized areas. And whatever opportunity I get to, partner with them, to support them through funding, through connections, or simply by amplifying any of their need or any of their ask that is there, I try to keep myself associated with it. I do believe that for India to really reach, the next level, uh, reimagining this whole educational landscape, and how would you try to build equity for children all across India is a very important problem to solve. So I try to lend my hand in whatever capacity I can, to anybody who needs help with what they're doing.
Okay, wonderful. What are your future plans? How do you see yourself in, say, 5, 10 years?
I think I found my comfort zone with this whole philanthropy angle that I have to my profession. I think that's a good space to be in, because I have seen, both ends of the pipeline, so to say. So I've seen one end where the money and the support is required, and I've also seen one end where the wealth is being generated. And I want to be that bridge or that pipeline so that we know that this money is being put to good use for betterment of society. And I think this fundraising and this philanthropy space that I am in is somewhere where I would like to flourish. So currently I'm focusing on doing well at my work that I have at my hand. I hope to continue in the same space. Where I will be, I don't really have a specific goal post that I want to get to, but definitely in the next couple of years, I want to build a stronger network. I want to ensure that I'm in touch with the right kind of people who will help me leverage all these things for for good, for doing better things, and for helping more people.
That's
That's
great.
that's largely what I see myself doing.
Okay, wonderful. So we have talked a lot about your work. Now let's talk about your hobbies and interests, what you do apart from work and for fun.
Well, I'm a very fun-loving person. I'm a very creative person at heart, and I try to learn a new hobby every year, something or the other. It's something I've been doing for the last couple of years. So one year I started baking, one year I did calligraphy, and it's not something that I stopped doing. I mean, I try to continue, having all those interests in my life all the time. Right now I'm learning how to use Procreate and do mandala art on my iPad. These are some things which I keep taking up. I love writing. I love listening to audiobooks and podcasts, so I try to keep up with with content and with good books. I know everybody keeps complaining that we don't have time to read, but my drive time is also my listening time. So I enjoy listening to good audiobooks and podcasts when I'm driving. um, I love music. I'm almost married to a musician. My husband plays the sitar, so very close to keeping up with classical music or with Hindi music, you name it. I like to be surrounded by all these things. Um, yeah, I love collecting stationery. Most of my friends know that if they have to gift me anything, they can always give me some nice stationery. I keep hoarding it most of the time. Apart from that, I enjoy doing photography. I also do work a little bit with the welfare of stray animals, dogs and cats especially. So whenever I get a chance, I volunteer with them. I used to do that a lot in Pune. I'm just trying to get on the ground and get into action now that I've settled here in this new city. And I have a pet cat, so I spend time with her whenever I can. She's a lovely 11-year-old calico that we have. She's also a rescue. Her name is Melody. So yeah, I keep myself surrounded by a lot of entertainment and fun, engaging things. I'm not someone who gets bored very very easily. We're also a bunch of movie buffs, so anything new, anything which is cinematically invigorating is something we like to invest our time with. I think that's very important, to just after having worked in a very stressed out sort of an environment. Doing all these things to kind of keep your sanity is also very very important.
Good, good. What are the societal issues that you care about? Apart from, of course, education, you're working a lot. Other than that,
Hmm.
do you have any societal issues in your mind that you want to address?
Definitely. I think environment being something which is really now in your face. We've all been talking about save the earth, save the environment. I mean, I remember as a child, we used to draw posters which were save the earth when we were in school. And I don't know what happened in those 20, 30 years. I believe nobody really did, or nobody had an idea how to do. But environment is something which I deeply care about. All these issues are getting really amplified now, and it's high time um, strict measures are taken towards that. I think equal pay for women, trying to bring them back into the workforce, especially those who have taken maternity leave or a maternal break, is an issue which is again very close to my heart. It's something which I've seen a lot of women struggle with, because there's not enough support that one gets from the workplace. Neither the cultural ecosystem is such which really nurtures women towards such things. I believe a lot in women leadership. I think the care and empathy that is required for an organization to really grow ethically and culturally strong requires a lot of female leadership um, at the top. And I hope someday, if I continue to do the work that I'm doing, it would get me there. But I'm very vocal normally about such things. um, Most of the people who know me will always associate me with all of these issues. The other thing I do really care about is animals. So I'm also very vocal about rights and welfare of animals, especially stray animals. So whenever I get a chance, I do participate in whatever little capacity I can. But yeah, these are things that I hold very close to my heart.
Okay. Apart from being vocal, do you do any activity or action in these areas?
Yes, even when I was in Teach for India and I had finished my fellowship, I would often go back to class and teach, um, or I would, lend a hand for being a volunteer in the class. With stray animals, definitely I do that. I support other organizations and individuals monetarily when they have to feed animals, or if there is any medical urgency or emergency which is there, I try to participate in that. I also am a green activist, you can say. So I believe a lot in recycling. So I participate a lot in recycling programs. I encourage other people also to take part in them. I've not been able to organize a drive here, but back when I was in Pune, we did organize drives for, collecting newspapers or old bed sheets and things like that, and providing them to, shelters, to places where there was need for all of these. Because what we observed is that randomly people just either ended up giving them away or throwing them away, when there was clearly a better use for, old possessed things that are still in good condition. So what was required was a channel to make sure that they get to the right people who are in need of them. So I do take part in all these things. I mean, there is definitely scope for a lot more, but I mean, given the bandwidth and what one person can really do, max what I think that individuals can at least do in their own capacity is probably rope in other people who they know can help as well. So I think that creating that network effect, I believe, is very, very, very important, rather than just one person taking the sole responsibility of really solving problems.
Okay, finally, do you have any questions for me?
Definitely questions for you. I mean, one, what is your interest in doing this and getting to know people and about them?
This is a platform for people to come and express themselves. So I want to provide this platform so that people can come and talk about themselves, the work that they are doing, and their life. So that's my objective, and that's how the podcast has been going so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's about it.
What are you, what are your, what are like you personally gaining or learning from this, and what has been your most interesting show yet?
I wouldn't say really I'm gaining anything from this, but it's pretty interesting to talk to different kinds of people from diverse backgrounds. You might have seen the podcast as shows from with guests from different ways of life. So it's pretty interesting to talk to them. Other than that, I felt that there needs to be a channel for people to come and talk. So that's what I try to provide, and that's what interests me, doing this day in and day out. Okay, great. So thanks a lot for making time to appear in the podcast and talk to us. You shared a lot of details about the education development sector and what you're doing and what are the possibilities that people could join in and do some effort for India in terms of education. That has been really inspiring. We also talked about your hobbies and interests, which is a lot. You are doing a lot of things. So those are all very motivational and inspirational. Thank you for sharing all of those. And I wish you all the best in your life and whatever you pursue.
Thank you, Venkat. This was really special. I've never, like I said, I've never done anything like this before. You've been too kind, and I hope you continue doing this great work and finding more people like me who would like to share their story. Thank you
Okay.
for giving this platform.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
That was a great podcast with Trupti Mulajkar. Please subscribe to this channel and follow it for more awesome podcasts. Opinions expressed by the guests in this podcast are their own. The host or the sponsors of the podcast do not condone the opinions expressed by the guests or the actions arising out of those opinions. Any decisions or actions that the listeners might take as a result of listening to this podcast must be based on their own judgment and will be at their own risk. The podcast host or the sponsors will not be held responsible for the consequences of any actions and or decisions taken as a result of any content in this podcast.